Order filled.
Alright, what's good everyone? We're back again today for another trade breakdown. This time we're going to be breaking down the 4hr trade I had taken today, which profited me over 130 points trading MNQ Longs, also made me over $15,000 across multiple accounts. Just over $4,000 on my live account when the full trade had hit TP, followed by just over $10,000 on my Apex PA accounts, as we can see right here. So I'm going to break that down today. First, going to show you guys the trade recording in which I had taken the position, and then break down how I got my bias, why I took longs where I did, as you can see right here, why I took longs right there, and just give you guys an entire breakdown at the end of the video. So, hope you guys enjoy. So Hope you guys enjoyed that little trade recording. Now we're going to get into the actual analysis and breakdown behind what brought me my narrative, why I took longs where I did, and so on. So going into 9:30, my initial game plan actually was to short, as we had SMT. So for context, overall market structure recently, as in overnight, had been bearish. We sold off due to Israel, Iran, war news, and all that. I'm not going to go into too much depth regarding it. Nonetheless, that is what caused us to initially sell off. Now we have to understand, what is the cause. What are we going to see at the end of manipulation moves? Well, that's going to be SMT. And what do we not see at the low of the range, at the low of this move? Well, we don't see any sort of SMT. All three indices are in sync. So initial game plan going into the morning was actually to short down into low day / the overnight lows. However, I just, I'm not going to go too much in depth, what happened at market open. Simply put, I did not get an entry. Unfortunately, I had been trying to enter short, but no optimal entry had presented itself. The first 1 minute CISD we had after market open, that was bearish, was way too close to 10 a.m. news for me to want to comfortably enter. If we got to set up back here between that 9:40 9:45, I would have entered, but since there was no 1 minute CISD until a few minutes before 10 a.m., I really was not comfortable entering short, but I would have ended up catching both moves had I got an entry. Now this is what fed me my immediate drawn liquidity, and why I was so convicted with why we're heading higher. And actually, before that, what I want to do is just understand overall higher time frame market sentiment. As we know, based off how ICT describes institutional order flow, we understand that institutional order flow is in a bullish market, in a bullish trending market. We don't want to see massive retracements every single day. In the trending market, we should just see down close candles be respected. More or less, we'll say in a bullish market. In a bullish market, we want to see down close candles be respected. Those down close candles, are going to act as a order block and act as support. And today, as you can see, we've been holding each down close candle that we formed. We've been holding, such as this one back from Friday, May 23rd, respected. Same thing here, respect. Same thing here. We've been holding this over the last week, this entire week. And so why shouldn't we hold it again today? And that was generally what I was thinking going into today. And that was a game plan. It's like, okay, even though, we're digging into it, nonetheless, we're still holding it. We're still respecting it. So due to that, immediately bullish institutional order flow remains bullish. If we want to get really specific, we can see that, based off this daily close, we're still holding the mean threshold of it. So we're still bullish until, we get closure below here, until we get that bearish CISD. But we have yet to have that, so we remain bullish on the higher time frame. I'm not focused on what I'm doing right now. And yeah, that's exactly it. So higher time frame remains extremely bullish. Now, what would validate us to be bullish? Well, like we were just talking about, we have such a strong drawn liquidity with 10 a.m. news. So 10 a.m. news opened up, and what do? Well, we immediately manipulate higher. And now we're going to study this in the sense of power 3. In the sense of power 3, okay, we had our 10 a.m. opening, we manipulate up. However, what confirms the end of manipulation? Well, with this being a new power 3, we can see that this end of the manipulation, there's no SMT. There's no SMT to confirm that price is going to continue lower the rest of the day. Now, due to that, that immediately made me bullish biased, and that immediately made me want to long. However, like we just talked about, what confirms the end of manipulation, and that is SMT. And this is what led me to take longs. As you can see, when we look over at YM is aggressively manipulating lower. And where do we manipulate lower to? Well, our previous quarter low. As you can see here, our previous quarter low lays within midnight at 12:15, and we run it out on YM, but we failed to do so on MNQ Longs, as you can see right here as I mark it out. And for context, with how I use SMT with time, this is an aspect of it. There's a reason I'm not marking out any random swing low within here. There's a reason it's specifically this swing low. If you can understand that, you'll be able to filter out all the unnecessary, SMT that does not work. Now, boom, SMT with we'll say the midnight low. That's not the proper term, but that is what it is. So, form SMT there, that gives us, boom, hard time frame SMT. That is that's the whole reason why we're looking to short, because even though the hard time frame remains bullish, we had no bullish SMT to then support longs. However, that was going into market open. Now going into 10 a.m., we formed it. We formed the SMT that we were looking for initially going into market open. So that immediately confirmed that we could look for longs. Now, we should have more confluences than just that. And as we can see, when we mark out the recent bullish range, as you can see right here, we can see that what do we do? MNQ seeks out discount while ES fails to, giving us another bullish cracking collation, which additionally has confluence for the trade. If we zoom in a bit, when utilizing the proper time frame alignment, what else do we see? Well, we can see that YM stoops the previous 15-minute low, and this is utilizing the proper time frame alignment. If you can understand why this low in particular we're drawing out, we're utilizing the proper time frame alignment, and we can see that MNQ fails to stoop the previous 15-minute low, what YM does. So boom, that immediately validates a drop down to a 1 minute time frame based off that lower time frame cracking collation. So that validated me to drop down to a 1 minute time frame, and then what validated me to drop down to a 15-second, because the biggest thing that is going to get messed up is trying to figure out when you're going to drop down to a 15-second. You're going to drop down to a 15-second too soon, get caught up in too early a move, so you're going to try to inverse this 15 seconds for value gap. You get stopped out. Why? Because they're too early. Or this 15-second CISD back here, you're going to get stopped out on that because you're too early. What do we look for confirmation on the 1 minute? Well, what do we see here? What do we just look for on the higher time frame? Well, on the 15-minute, proves 15-minute low. On the 1 minute, what do we see? Proves 1 minute low, as we can see right here. Now, additionally, actually, forget it. We're just going to cover this part. No need to overcomplicate anything. So, midnight low, 15-minute, 1 minute. Based off all those confluences, I can then, based off what we see on the 1 minute, I can then validate a drop down to a 15-second. And as you guys saw in the video, my entry was the 15-second CISD, and that is what I entered off of. As let's see right there, stop loss at the swing low, the protected low, just like I talked about in my other YouTube video that regards protected highs and lows. SMT at the low, that makes it protected, not any random swing low within here. The one that has all the cracks and collations. And then TP, my only reason for entering the trade was the drawn liquidity being the unmitigated data high. So that was my only TP. I had no reason to trim, because again, the whole reason for me entering longs was not just because we're in discount. No, it was because the data high remained unmitigated. So there's no reason to trim early. There's no reason to target any external level buy side. The only logic was the unmitigated data high, and that was the whole reason for entering. And as you also saw in the video, my reason for going break even was the 15-minute city. Reason being is just because that's the most obvious higher time frame PD ray that we can find within premium of the range, as we can see right there. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna break even there. It's a decent ways away from my entry. That should be a pretty safe point to break even. That's our break or make level. And as we can see, end up playing out like that. And well, final TP was hit. Now, I mean, really no other reason to cover anything else. This is not a daily market review. We're just covering the trade that I taken today. I mean, pretty simple stuff. There's really no reason to overcomplicate anything. That's just how I break it. That's just how I think about the 4hr Po3. The biggest aspect is understanding higher time frame narrative and understanding the end of the manipulation, what confirms it, what has to be present, and what is not present. Hide the range within the 4hr Po3. There is no SMT present. On top of that, it was a data high, which acts as a strong drawn liquidity, especially when there's no cracking collation there. and that is how we understand the 4hr3. Okay, so the last thing I want to cover for anyone who has any comments, questions, concerns, huge thing I want to talk about is my free trial with my server. Feel free to utilize the free trial with my server. Literally, it's free. 5 days, full access, like full access to everything. If you have any questions regarding how I trade, in terms of market maker models, Power 3, quarterly theory, all the education can be found within the free trial and it's within the monthly. So even though my mentorship is no longer open as of now, I'm probably going to reopen it at the end of summer, I still have another, option, and that is called the Inner Prospects. It is a monthly sub, which again is not mentorship based, but again, I'm still super active with all of them. Anyone who has questions, we have a questions forums, journal forums, all of it, which you guys can utilize and get direct feedback from me. Now, it's not just that. Like I said, we have all the education regarding quarterly theory, such as here. I show you guys how to understand the implementation of quarterly theory, market maker models, Power 3, and how it all interlinks. On top of that, every single thing there is to know about quarterly theory. It's not just AMDX, XAMD. It's so much deeper than that. But again, not gonna go into depth on a free YouTube video, as well as free, not just text channels, but as well as 20+ watt videos. And Halo and I are both still uploading to that twice a week, or once a week, 2 videos a week, one from each of us every single week, and we're going to be doing that until the end of the summer. On top of that, we have my trade reviews and my in-depth model regarding quarterly theory, which is what I'm currently trading as of now, as well as Halo's model, which he's going to update once he's back from his Europe trip. So the big aspect of understanding how I trade, understanding my model, is going to allow you to understand how I, what I post in my intraday commentary channel. I did do live trading. I took it away for the month of June, which based off the results of June, I'm probably going to bring back in July, but I don't want to speak too early. I'm just going to let myself do things as I'm doing before I say anything. But as of now, I'm just doing intraday commentary channel, as well as pre-market analysis, as well as analysis from Halo, and as well as his trade recaps. But if you can understand what I post in my intraday commentary channel, you can decipher it. Not really decipher it, but if you can just look at it. If you look at my intraday commentary channel and understand how I trade my model, boom, you're set. Because so going into the day, I posted my pre-market analysis, which was initially short bias. Initially, I was looking for shorts. I said currently not anything decent setup for me for shorts, but not an optimal CISD, because this CISD right here, we were just accumulating above it. I was like, okay, I'm not really interested in this. We have 10 news coming up. I'm not really interested in shorting. So even though I said that in my pre-market analysis, which I'm not going to open up the channel, just because I don't want to share everything that's in there. Just because we don't get a sub based off of that doesn't mean I'm just going to stop for the day and stop updating. No, I say act up to date and active in my intraday commentary channel, because I still share everything I'm looking for going into the rest of the day. Because even though my initial pre-market analysis did play out, I just didn't get an entry, I'm still going to update. Like I said, if we don't run off the data high at 10 a.m., which it looks like we are not going to do, then I'm going to wait for a long setup to form inside discount once we form SMT. Well, price did that. Discount is met. Looking for shorts all morning, just not like that high being unmitigated. So that's why I didn't enter short. But just like I said, looking for a long setup. What is that long setup? Well, it's my model. The model that I look for every single day. The model that I recap every single time I take a trade. And well, those who understand my model and just follow my simple checklist, all of them got an entry. Now it's like for the people who did catch shorts, I'm not just gonna say based off my analysis, because they all do their own analysis. Good for them. Ghost, great for Ghost. Cleargen, I know he caught shorts. Ruben, I know he top tick shorts. Like all of them, good for them. Or Jack, and so on. It's like all great stuff for all of them, and they just have to be consistent with that. But otherwise, like I was talking about, anyone who wants to actually understand how I trade, be up to date with my intraday commentary channel, all that, feel free to use the free trial. That's the only promo I'm going to do. I just wanted to shout that out. Otherwise, any other comments, questions, concerns, either feel free to join the free trial, feel free to ask in the server, or leave them in the comments below. But I'll see you guys all in the next video.